What's going on, Skye Squad? We are back in the building, and before we dive into the recap, I gotta go over something with y'all because I don't know if you happened to catch this last night on Watch What Happens Live, but your girl Heather Gay from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was a guest along with Mia Thornton from the Real Housewives of Potomac. And when questioned about whether or not, she felt like it was relevant as to whether or not she would continue to remain Jen Shah's friend, especially what Jen is going through and what she's alleged of, whether or not it was relevant to their friendship, Heather said no. And Andy was like, it's not. And so then, Heather said this: I knew that her business was unsavory. Now, I have to commend Heather for her honesty, but was this a mistake? We're going to chat it up with Up and Adam. Really Adam Newell from Up and Adam. And we're going to talk about whether or not this was a smart move on Heather's behalf. Now, Adam doesn't know that we're going to talk about this. I just said it just now. So we're going to see what his takes are on the episode and this bit of news right here. Let's get into this intro and then we'll be right back. Skye Squad, we are back in the building and we're here to discuss Salt Lake City, okay? It's the new season, season 2, episode 1, the best of frenemies. And we have the perfect person here to help us break down this episode today. Now, it's been a while. It's been a couple of months since we've done this, but we had talked about doing it way back when the season first ended. So, of course, we had to do it all over again. So we're going to be bringing Adam from Up and Adam onto the scene and the screen to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Adam, hey.
How's it going?
It is going, but not quite as busy as your day. I'm
so excited to be back, though, because like you said, we talked about this. I feel like it's only right. We started Salt Lake City together for the first season. We tried doing another franchise, right? We've talked about this and it didn't work out. You didn't love that franchise, and I totally understand why. But Salt Lake City, it's good, and this season's only going to get better. And we got a better time slot, so I'm happy.
Oh my God. I just want to talk about that. How relieved I am that it's not at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night when I'm already tired and halfway through the work week. No, that wasn't going to work for me.
No. I like that too. No, I mean, that was the worst time slot ever. And I didn't even feel like it wasn't an appropriate time slot. So now that we get them at 9 p.m., I'm like, yes, thank you, bravo. You listened. We asked. You guys received it. I'm happy.
I'm happy too. Listen, if you guys are watching in the chatterization, let us know where you're watching from. Be sure to greet Adam as you do so, as I see plenty of you doing. Let's get into the episode. Before we dive right on into it, actually, I want to go back. Before we even dive into the episode, let's talk about Heather Gay on Watch What Happens Live. Now, typically, I would not have even brought this up, but it was so major to me, and I was just wondering. Now, I love me some Heather. I do. I really do. But when Andy asked her that question about Jen Shah's business, and she said she felt like it was unsavory from the jump, what were your thoughts? Did you see this?
Yes. What's funny is I wasn't going to watch it, but I watched it for Heather Gay because I knew it was her first live appearance. So I was excited about it. I do have some concerns, though. Obviously, if anyone watches my channel, you guys know I bring on Ronald Richards, who is the attorney going after Erica Girardi and the funds, right? And we had a conversation one time where he said he has the ability to depose Lisa Rinna based off of her statements on the show, just saying, I don't think Erica's lying. I know she's not lying. I'm with Erica. And he's like, well, if you know she's not lying, what do you know, Rinna? So I can offer a deposition to her for her to come on the stand and be under oath. That's a scary place to be. And she didn't say much for him to be able to prompt that. Now, for Heather Gay, you're on here saying you knew the business was unsavory. What are you saying? You also said in the trailer, I don't want to be indicted. We know you don't want to be indicted, but you also don't want to be deposed. Why? Just be quiet. Where's Kathy Hilton being like, shh? Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know what to think. I mean, there was a part of me that felt like her honesty was refreshing, but I also felt like it may have been just a little bit naive to a certain degree. Although, I felt like she did try to clear it up by saying that, well, I've asked her about her business. I couldn't understand it. I felt like but then she kind of almost went back the opposite direction by saying that I knew that it was right on the line, but I didn't know it was illegal. Now, let me tell you guys something. This is just me, and I'm not going to stay on this too long. But in my opinion, if I have a friend that I know is doing some type of illegal activity or some type of business that I don't even think is right, especially at this point, knowing that Heather has businesses, knowing that she is on, television, at a certain point in time, you kind of have to make a decision whether or not to stay in that friendship or separate yourself from that friendship for the sake of your business, your morals, and your ethics. That's just me.
Right. No, I agree. Channel your inner Sutton and figure out where the red flags are coming from and how much of this do you want to be a part of. That wasn't the only thing that she said on Watch What Happens Live, though, that kind of threw me for a loop. Ooh. When she said, I like criminals. And Andy Cohen's like, what? You like criminals?
No, I cringed.
And she's like, I like them more than I like the big man. And I'm like, this is obviously your first live. And she even asked, she's like, this is live, right? He's like, yeah, babe, this is live. I'm like, ugh, did nobody give you any media training? Nothing? Because you're saying all of the wrong things that you probably shouldn't be saying. She's eating her words today for sure.
Eating her words like she was eating that bread.
Okay. That's shady as hell. I like it.
Let's get into the episode, shall we?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Adam, and you know how we like to do it, I like to know what you rate the episode right off the rip. And this goes for you guys in the chatterization as well. We want you to rate the episode. This gives us an overall idea of where you would rank this episode, really on a scale for, not only this Housewives show, but all the other ones that are, out currently as well. So, Adam, scale of 1 to 10, what you giving it?
Okay. I'm going to give it a solid 7.8, and this is why. I like that.
You are tough, and I like it.
Yeah. Wow, a lot of 8s, 9s, and 10s. Okay. I'm going to tell you why. So we started off the episode with the Jen Shah being arrested, where we have that build up for the season. And I love that the network and production, they didn't keep that, in their back pocket and make us wait all season for it. So I love that that's where we started. I also love the shadiness of starting off the episode with Jen Shah saying, I've never went to jail, but girl, for you, I'll go to jail. I'm like, you guys didn't edit that out on purpose, which I love. And I love meeting the newbie, Jenny, because her story is interesting to me. Her family is super cute. The fact that she deems her husband as a butterface right out of the gate on the first episode, I'm like, you're shady as hell, but I appreciate you. The only thing I didn't really like is how the dynamics have changed so much and where are we going with it. I had a few concerns. And Mary Cosby, I still have to learn to like Mary Cosby. I'm not there with her yet. I'm really not. I can't help myself. It's the whole thing is like stuck ingrained in my brain and I can't come back from it.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to give it a 9, actually.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to give it a 9. I give it a 9 because I loved that cold open. That cold open was just perfect. It was actually delicious because I felt like what they did was they satisfied our curiosity about how things went down that day. I mean, we had all been talking about it, but we had never really seen, to see it visually, I felt like was just such a treat, which leads me to believe that if they're coming in that strong, they've got to have like greatness coming. So to me, I was just, the intrigue of it all was what sucked me in. I liked seeing a more fiery and passionate Meredith because I kind of felt like Meredith seemed a little bit like, I don't know, like subdued, almost like not to say that she was, this is definitely not, I'm not saying that she was, but you know how like when somebody takes some Xanax or something, she just seemed very much like, disengaged, like just not really reacting the way that I would think someone would be reacting in her scenarios. I thought that everybody looked great in their, confessionals. I felt like it delivered. I was excited about Jenny, the new cast member. I was appalled that she would really go in about her husband's face the way that she did. Because I was like, girl, I'm going to save it. But yeah, I was just kind of like shocked about that. But I liked her. I was intrigued by her and her family. And I think that that's always a good sign. I was intrigued by Crystal in the beginning of Beverly Hills, but I'm just talking about new faces. I've been intrigued by Mia this season as well. Mia has continued to stay intriguing to me. I'm a little less intrigued by Crystal thus far. Just speaking about the shows that are out right now. Right. But hopefully, in terms of new characters, Jenny will continue to bring it this season.
Well, from what we've seen on the trailer so far, and when Lisa Barlow tries to finally get Jen, Shah, and Meredith together, and Jenny just flips her, I was like, okay, this housewife might have something. She has the life. She has the wealth. I mean, they all portray that they have the wealth until someone's indicted or there's criminal activity going on. But it seems that way, and it's the first time we're ever hearing about a husband asking for a sister wife. So there's a lot coming in to play with Jenny. I said this on Zach Peters' podcast. I thought it was so hilarious when we met her family and Lisa Barlow is asking the daughter, how's school? How's it going? She's like, I'm getting all A's, of course. That's why they call us Asians and not Bijans. I was like, did she just say that?
I liked that a lot. I thought that was, and the fact that it didn't come from the Jenny, the fact that it came from her daughter, was like, I was like, okay, I see it and I like it. But we know how things get when the children start speaking. So hopefully, and we're going to get into that, but the crux of the issue of the debate in this episode is really going to be about, a couple of things really, but mostly Meredith and Jen's friendship, which we're going to touch on a little bit later as we dive into it. Any thoughts about the opening sequence before we jump into like different scenes in the episode?
Are you talking about the Jen, Shah, Lisa Barlow sit down?
I'm talking about the just the opening where we get to see a little bit of the action happening with Jen Shah and the arrest and how that all happened.
No, absolutely. Like you said, the way that they started off, I was obsessed with. I thought that was the best way to lead us into the new season, only because we've all been talking about it. We've all heard about it. We only know the headlines, but we wanted to see how did this play out in real life. I'm a little disappointed. And I know, again, we'll get to this later down the season, and it would have been really shady. But do you remember when Nene Leakes went out to talk to Eva Marcille about why she was so upset about being accused of not owning her home? And she was like, no, please turn your mic off. We have to move around because my ex is crazy. And Nene never turned off her mic. I wish Whitney wouldn't have turned off that damn mic. Like, what are you doing? You could have kept your snowflake for so many seasons. Production would have loved you had you have just not turned off the mic. But you're a good friend, so okay. Come on, Whitney. What?
I didn't even think about that, and I love a callback. Yeah. Love a callback. I like that scene a lot as well. I felt like it gave me everything that I needed, as I stated earlier. Let's go ahead and jump into the episode. We begin the episode with Jen Shah's new chalet, which she does admit was, well, she kind of admits that her last one was a lease, which I'm glad she went ahead and dived right into that joke because, girl, we knew. I knew before the season even started. Okay. So in my mind, I was like, thank you for not pretending. I like that. Right. Lisa's coming over. We learned that Jen and Sharif almost got a divorce because of her antics. He was about to walk out the door. The divorce attorney called. And we also get a little bit of a conversation about Meredith and Lisa and how Lisa feels like she's in the middle. Okay. That's where we get the part where Jen jokes about, having Lisa's back so hard that she would go to jail for her, but she ain't been to jail yet.
That didn't age well. That did not age well.
It's like, why would you say that. Anyway, what are your thoughts about their little meet and greet to start off the episode?
Well, a few things. I was really hoping that Lisa Barlow, because she's intelligent, she's beautiful, she's a businesswoman, she's a go-getter, and her vocabulary is so relaxed. I feel like I can say everything she says throughout a whole season on, 5 fingers. And for the most part, it's love that. So she's getting a tour of the house. She loves everything. Oh my gosh, those stairs, love that. This house, love that. That kitchen, love that. Snacks. I'm like, Lisa, if I hear this next episode, I'm playing a drinking game and I'm going to take a shot every time I hear love that. And then I'm going to make a video of myself and put it on social media just to show you how messed up that gets you from hearing it a whole episode. But when she sits down and talks to Jen Shah, I felt like this was a very real moment for Jen to share with us that not everything is hunky-dory over there with her relationship with Coach Shah. And I could see why, especially with his position, he's a coach for a college team. There's millions of dollars of funding that goes into these teams. He has to upkeep a certain reputation, and he has his wife going around here slamming glasses, splashing cameramen, looking like she's going to drag somebody across the reunion floor on national television. Yeah, that would probably be a problem, especially if which not saying Coach Shah knew anything, my business and my paycheck is legit. Yours is the one in question. So if yours comes to an end, the hell am I supposed to do after I get fired because you're showing you're behind on the show? Or in Brooks's words, the other side. But,
I can't imagine being with someone who responds to things in that way, because in my mind, I'm always thinking, like, isn't that exhausting? That has to get exhausting to have to apologize to your friends and family for your wife's behavior at every single event that you guys go to. And now to know that that's how she's reacting to things on national television, that's got to be exhausting. And I'm not even thinking about it, taking it back away from the television aspect of it. I mean, I don't have a big propensity for drama at this point, not in my personal life. I like to watch it on TV, but I don't like any of that type of stuff in my personal life. So if you are destroying my peace like that, then I got to go too. So to be honest with you, I don't blame Coach Shah for wanting to get up out of there.
Right. And, it's also interesting because you said something when we were recapping this during the first season that kind of stuck with me. I like watching these shows, and I can watch every episode and have it be the most dramatic episode and see Jen Shah fighting with everybody all season. I can watch that. But you even said, and Jason said the same thing, it gets exhausting. I can't watch her flip out every single episode. I need some calm. Like, it can't all be about Jen Shah and having these heated moments. And fans are pretty divided on that. They wanted to see a new season with her not flipping out every single moment. However, because of the intensity and the level of everything that's about to come out, I have a feeling that this will not be the season that happens.
Yeah, but I think a good flip out moment is like an exclamation point. You don't put an exclamation point at the end of every sentence. You know what I'm saying? You reserve it for when it's absolutely necessary. And so when it comes in those moments, we actually love it a lot more because it's warranted and it's deserved. But she was just kind of flipping out over everything. So it was kind of like, okay, girl, this is kind of losing its effect on me.
Right.
But I digress.
I agree with you.
Heather stops by Meredith's new house. And in my mind, I was just kind of like, I don't really know what they talked about, to be quite honest with you. I forget. But I was just thinking to myself, Meredith got a new house too. Now, and I'm nosy, is this a lease as well? Because they seem to be moving houses just so frequently. Now, the views were great. The other thing that I was thinking about in this scene was the fact that it just seemed odd to me that Heather was going to visit Meredith, because I'm like, when did y'all become such fast friends? And I understand that they were kind of getting buddy at the end of last season, but it was just odd to me.
Yeah, it definitely came in within the first 15 minutes of the show. We see there's an obvious divide amongst the cast. And I think the reunion was what prompted that, because if you think about it, the vet housewives, they come into these reunions and they're like, sorry, girl, I'm about to rip your head off, but maybe after we can go grab a drink. And these newbies, the freshmen, they came in and they really, I think it stuck with them, some of the words and, the stuff, the character assassinations that they were throwing back and forth. And for Lisa Barlow, it was obvious that stuck with her. And for Meredith, I think Heather Gay really supported her and defended her at the reunion, especially when Lisa was sticking up for Jen Shah. Now, what they talked about in this moment, Meredith and her relationship with Seth, yes, they're doing great, fantastic. He's gone 50% of the time. It's like your dream relationship, right? And then he's back the other 50% of the time. And then she talks about her daughter talking about colleges or maybe going off to college. I could have done without this scene, but at least it let us know where they stand. So I guess it was somewhat necessary, but not, I didn't take away a whole lot from this.
I didn't either. I'm going to move on to Whitney because she comes in, and Whitney is basically, listen, Whitney comes in, she's celebrating one of the husband's son's birthdays. So they're having a family gathering. Now, there are two things that I really took away from this scene. And one was they drink a lot of shots, but that's actually zero. One was the fact that she is rebranding her Iris and Bow brand, which I was actually glad that they spent some time on, because last season they spent absolutely zero time on this. I actually like the name Iris and Bow a little bit better than Wild Rose, which she named the brand now, because I think she's naming it after her Instagram handle. But maybe Wild Rose, and you might know this, Wild Rose has some other type of significance to her. I really don't know.
I actually don't know. You know, Whitney has sent us over some of her skincare products, and I've tried them. They're amazing. My face didn't break out, which that's always a good sign, you know. And I didn't even know that she was rebranding it, because she actually has brand ambassador Zooms, maybe once or twice a month, where everybody comes in, they talk about the product. They just have kind of like a kiki moment where they catch up with Whitney. How's life? What's going on behind the scenes? And you just know that you don't talk about it outside of that little brand ambassador Zoom. I don't know when this Wild Rose rebranding came about, because I was completely left in the dark about that, but it just goes to show I'm not in the know on everything.
Dang it, Adam.
I know.
The other thing I was thinking about was, girl, it was a sign. This cake was not meant for this occasion. If you don't let this cake go, this cake cannot stay on this platter. You can't hold the cake. Just let it go. And why continue to even bring it out there? The first time that cake fell, it would have right in the trash can.
Yeah, but she tried, and that just goes to show the shots. You know, they were drinking so much. One, I hope the family, they were either staying the night there or they had drivers, because they were drinking like no other. And you notice they weren't drinking Vita tequila, just saying. But two, this poor cake. She drops it once. She tries her damnedest. She puts the candles back in, drops it again. Just leave the plates. You don't need them right now. And then she drops it again. And then the third time she brings it out, at that point, I would have brought out a loaf of bread, a glass with a candle in it, a sparkler, something. That poor cake. I was wanted though at the hot tub foam party. I was like, you guys know how to do it.
I love it. I love it. I love that little backyard party. It was everything. Now we're going to get somebody I know you don't like. Mary, though, is having a podcast. Okay. She's been talking to herself in the pandemic, and she realized something. She needs to talk to others. Okay. And so she comes up with this idea to have a podcast up in the church, but the church has been closed because of the pandemic. So she has invited some of the, the church council members or whatever to come in and do a little session, a little kiki session, so to speak, a little gospel kiki, if we will. And they sit down and they, reminisce about, Mary smoking the ganja at certain points in her life. And she don't remember when she smoked it, but she's definitely had it. She probably didn't have it in 7-Eleven. We know that. But, she's definitely had it at some point in the past. It was just such an interesting conversation. And I found myself wondering, where can I find this podcast? But what did you think?
Okay. I'm trying so hard, Mary. I have a few things I have to say here. One, just like Kim got her GD house stolen, this was supposed to be Mary's season. This was the season where we were going to address the alleged cult, where her family members were going to come in, things were going to be called out, how they're maneuvering money around. Her finances don't necessarily add up either from what we've seen and people have talked about. So I feel like this really was supposed to revolve around her this season until the Jen Shah indictments. Okay, that's one. Two, she cuts off this poor man in the middle of prayer for getting too passionate. He's just passionate. He's going in. He's feeling the Lord, right? And I went to Lewis Baptist Church of God for a little bit. And they were like, they had their hands up in the air. They were speaking in tongues, falling on the ground. They were having seizures, all kinds of stuff. So I've seen this stuff. But this poor man is trying to get passionate in his prayer, and she cuts him off only to get passionate in her prayer while teaching him not to get passionate in his prayer. So I didn't get that.
See, I wasn't mad when she cut him off because, for me, I feel like in a lot of churches, and I might get in trouble for this, but in a lot of churches you might go to, you know what I'm saying? They will, sometimes the pastor will get into this thing, and specifically some black churches, and I can say it because I'm black, but they will get into this thing where they would just, start to going like he was going and you're kind of like, and back in the day when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, everybody's getting hyped. But now as an adult, I just look at it like you ain't even got to do all that. Actually, I think it probably is hurting your throat. Okay. So when Mary cut him off, I was kind of like, yes, girl, go ahead and show him how it's done. And, she did get a little passionate, but it was a quiet passion and that's what I liked about it.
Okay. Well, my thing is too, after all of your family members came out, you haven't addressed a lot of these allegations, and they said that you're not even at the church half the time. Why don't you at first get passionate about showing up to the church for the congregation before you get passionate about your podcast and cutting off the guy who's there to help you with it?
Maybe
we're not holding a podcast on our own.
Maybe podcasting is the new church.
I mean, it could be. I get, and at least she would show up. She would show up for a podcast.
Can we celebrate at least, Adam, that she's out of the closet?
Yeah, I could celebrate that in her new look. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what she had done.
She does look refreshed.
She looks refreshed. I have to get, like, she still gives you like the crazy eyes where she's like, I told you, but she looks good. She looks refreshed. She's out of the closet. It's probably because she sent her husband down to Florida for the whole pandemic. So she's like, well, I'm good. I'm left alone. I'm in my own bedroom. He's not bothering me, and I get to organize my clothes.
That was the other thing. Robert Sr. had been in Florida for about 6 months of the pandemic, allegedly because he did not want to fly, and be around the people. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds like he's a little older, so I can understand that fear. I was just like, for real though, he couldn't have chartered a Sprinter van or a bus or something like that to bring him back home. Y'all got all this coin. He could have made it back home if he wanted to. I think he just wanted to be down in Florida.
I do too. Think about it like this. Look at the bags that she wears, the designer clothes, the Chanel. Her son is even, remember when the son last season bought a girlfriend of his Chanel bag or something? And she's like, you can't spend that kind of money. It would have cost you the same. It cost me less than it cost the Chanel bag to have a truck pack up my whole apartment in Los Angeles and bring it to Palm Beach. It cost me less with that. So it's definitely not going to cost you too much to either rent a car, drive your own car, or charter a Sprinter bus to take you back to Salt Lake City. He just wanted to be left alone, which I don't blame you. I don't blame him.
I think he just wanted to be. Listen, if you're gonna, I'm gonna tell y'all like this, and you know this. If you're gonna be quarantined, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. If you're going to be stuck in a pandemic, what I have learned is the place that you want to be stuck in is Florida. And let me tell you why, real quick, off topic. You can still go outside and do everything. You can go outside and go, go out to eat. Florida never really, we had like literally 1 month where it was closed when I was living there. But after that, I felt like it was just wide open. So Florida has been popping in the panorama.
Yeah, no, and like you said, there's so many outdoor activities, and for some reason, Florida took it upon themselves to kind of take these guidelines and do what Florida acted like its own little country when the rest of the world, I started off the pandemic in Los Angeles, and we were in complete shutdown. You weren't going anywhere. If you were outside, even out in the open world, outside 50 feet away from someone, if you didn't have a mask on, you were frowned upon. It was very different. You come to Florida and they're like, pandemic who? No.
It's the truth. It's the truth, though. Okay. We're going to slide right on over to Jenny's house because Lisa goes over to visit Jenny, and that's how we're introduced. Apparently, their sons are best friends. They met when they were both expecting. They bumped bellies, and then there was best friends after that. Well, after Meredith. But anyway, Jenny escaped from Vietnam. She has a very interesting backstory. The kids, they with it. She was attracted to her husband's body, not really his face. Did I miss anything?
No, that's so crappy to say on TV. She's also going through her freshman year. She's going to learn, just like Mia Thornton, Crystal Kung Minkoff, all of these newbies. They'll learn, oh, I thought I was being cute on camera, but my words probably hurt somebody's feelings, especially when it's in your own home. No?
Listen, I mean, no, I think you're correct, but I just think that was the wrong way to be cute.
Yeah, I think they probably have that banter, but there's so many people who are going to dissect that and be like, oh, you're not attracted to your husband. And for that poor man, he has to go back and go to his practice and be a chiropractor and see his clients. And they're like, oh, your wife thinks you're ugly, but you have a good body.
I guarantee you it's going to be somebody out there that will want that body and that face. He's a chiropractor, so he making some money.
Yeah, the sister wives are knocking on his door right now, and they're like, sign me up. Get rid of her. She's good. She already gave you the kids. Let her go. I'm not going to spend as much money. Yep. Sorry, Jenny. But I do love her story, and I thought it was interesting. And, it's nice to see or hear about people's different experiences and how they started from here. And, they're on top of the world at this point. She has a very successful life from what we can see. She's very wealthy. She has a beautiful family, and she came here on a fishing boat where she was stuck into a refugee camp. I mean, this is insane to think about. It's hard to process that things like this even still happen, but they do. And she was a real life person who lived this real life scenario. And a lot of us can't say that or even fathom what that would look or feel like. Even though she was little and a baby, you can't take it away from her. It was still part of her life,
Yeah. I liked hearing her backstory a lot because I just, I think for so many of us, we will never know what that's like, maybe. But, to hear that and to hear where she's come from, where she's been and where she is now, I just loved it a lot. Yeah. But while Lisa is there getting that backstory and giving it to her kids, we have another group that's having lunch in an igloo that makes for some horrible audio. We have Mary, Meredith, and Whitney and Heather getting together for lunch. And while the rest of the girls are ordering salads and breadsticks, not breadsticks, Heather wants all the breadsticks and she wants the real meal. And I like Heather because I'm an eater. I like to eat. She wants all the food and she wants the bottomless Prosecco. Okay. We get that right off the bat, but we also get into a topic about Meredith losing her dad. And then we also get a little bit of camaraderie with the rest of the ladies, Heather and Mary also having lost their own dad. So that was a touching moment right there. But then immediately it went over to whether or not, Heather is going to apologize to Lisa, which she says she is. And then how Meredith feels about Lisa being friends with Jen Shah, who has allegedly, now they flashed these things on the screen several times for us. These tweets that Jen has allegedly liked that are also allegedly homophobic, okay, in regards to Brooks, who has never apparently mentioned his sexuality to Meredith or anyone else that we know. I gave a lot of disclaimers in that because I just want to be on the safe side. But Adam, what were your thoughts about this conversation?
This is something that makes me feel really uncomfortable because for Brooks, we see him, he comes off a little bit more feminine on the show. People will automatically assume that he's a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, right? But at the end of the day, that's his story to tell. And everyone has different scenarios, but I had an uncle who didn't come out until he was 50 years old, never had a wife. And we would always ask him, even as a young, naive kid, I was like 8, 9, I'd be like, Uncle so-and-so, are you gay? And he told me after I became an adult how that affected him and how by me asking him in front of everyone, even though I was a kid and I didn't know, he would go home and have breakdowns over it. And I felt terrible. And then in high school, you witness your own shit. So it's really a tough scenario to be in. And if he hasn't had this conversation with everyone, I don't think it's for Jen Shah to really comment on. And for her to say, he talked about my hoo-ha, right? He talked about my hoo-ha. It's not an even playing field. I'm not defending Brooks here, but I'm just looking at the situation as a whole. Go after Meredith. Go after her relationship. Go after the fact that she had a boyfriend on the side. Do that. It's just like on Real Housewives of New Jersey. Jackie Goldschneider, go after Teresa. Don't give a Gia Giudice drug analogy in college. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't like it, and I don't think it's as severe. Like Lisa Barlow was like, well, to me, it's just as bad as what Heather and Whitney did to me. Meredith's like, that is not the same thing. I'm Team Meredith on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to sort of watch. I mean, specifically because, I can definitely relate somewhat to his experience. And I think that there are a lot of people online that feel as though Brooks, because he has made commentary about seeing allegedly Jen Shah's, kitty cat.
Yeah.
Kitty
cat. Yeah.
And that he had commentary about seeing it. They feel like that has opened him up for, criticism from both Jen and the fans. I'm kind of on the fence about it as well, along with you, because I just also think that, his sexuality has really nothing to do with whatever offense she is perceiving him to have lobbed her way. So I think it's one thing for her to, as she will later say, defend her kitty cat. I think there's another thing that we need to talk about with her allegedly liking these tweets that could be deemed as being homophobic. These are separate issues, right?
Right.
So in that regard, I can understand why Meredith is upset about that, specifically if he hasn't come out and he hasn't stated anything about his sexuality. And there's some generalization that's happening here because we're assuming that he is one thing because of his demeanor, right? Which tends to lean a bit softer, a little less on the, macho masculine side, so to speak. And I'm choosing my words carefully because I want to also be sensitive to, wherever he is or wherever he falls on the spectrum of sexuality.
Right.
So it's a tough situation. I am somewhat Team Meredith on this because I just kind of feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, Meredith would have a lot more respect for Jen's kids than I think that Jen may have had for her own. I don't necessarily think that Jen is homophobic, but I do think that she is, like Heather Gay has attested to, a mess on social media at times.
I agree with you on a lot of things here. I wouldn't deem her as homophobic, especially because, she has had makeup artists who have been gay. She's had assistants who have been gay. She's obviously, in my mind, I wouldn't think she was homophobic, but it just doesn't look cute if you're allegedly liking tweets that says Brooks is a sissy B word and someone needs to slap him around a little bit. You know what I mean? Those things, and calling him a twink and those things, it's like, someone has to be the adult here. I understand he's a young kid. When I say young kid, he's 20 years old or whatever, but it's not the same playing field. And for her to even go on Watch What Happens Live and be like, you're welcome, because he's never seen a hoo-ha before, but if you're going to see one for the first time, at least you saw this golden hoo-ha, whatever. If Meredith made the same comments about her kids or like the same tweets about her kids, we would get we've gotten the Jen Shah reaction for much less, let alone something like that. So it wouldn't even be the same. I have a lot of respect for how Meredith is handling this. And she's just like, I'm disengaging. Unless you want to apologize for the hurt that you've caused my family, I don't have to be around you. When we know you do, because you're a part of an ensemble cast, but I don't need this.
Exactly.
So, Team Meredith on this one. Sorry, Jen.
Yeah.
But team watching your storyline play out.
We will be watching.
Yeah.
So we also get, I wrote very little about this. Jen has some sort of family gathering where the aunt who had her legs amputated from last season was present So we get to meet her, and this was the reason for Mary's hospital smell moment from last season. I didn't really get much from this. Truth be told, I had seen the episode prior to this. So because I had seen it, I literally was not as engaged in this scene the second time watching it. But there's nothing I really have to add here. Do you have anything that you might have noticed in that scene that we need to remember for later or down the season or anything like that?
I think that she wanted to show the aunt because we never got to see her last season. I believe her name is, they call her Aunt Nani. She unfortunately passed away in June. So she's no longer, she did pass away. Shah did put that out there, which is terrible. And it just goes to show you too, it's like another, I hated that. And I said this multiple times during the first season. I hated that comment from Mary Cosby, especially when Jen explained to her, I was coming from a hospital where my aunt was getting her legs amputated. And Mary just looked at her in the face and said, yeah, I said it. Like, what are you going to do about it? She didn't say it like that, but that's the energy she gave us.
Yeah.
And watching the whole family come around and seeing her mom give this heartfelt speech about, I wish your dad was here, stuff like that. It was nice to see that softer side of Jen because we don't get that a whole lot. So while we didn't need a whole 5-10 minutes of it, it was good to see a glimpse of it. And it was nice to see Aunt Nani before her unfortunate passing because we get to put a face to, I guess.
The topic of conversation.
Yeah.
I will agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So if you didn't see the episode, that kind of gives you a summary of what happened in that scene, guys.
Right.
So the last and final scene to me was one of the scenes that was most intriguing when I watched this episode. And it is a scene where, Meredith is having a Shabbat dinner. And this Shabbat dinner was, to me, it went a little bit better than the New York Shabbat dinner. Because there was no Ramona Singer there. But it still went off the rails just a little bit, but for very different reasons. We have Brooks is there baking the challah bread, and the Barlows are coming over to celebrate in the Shabbat dinner. Now, it's interesting because as soon as Lisa and the family get there, Meredith and Lisa go sit down and they are having a conversation. In this conversation, they are talking about, Lisa really wants Meredith to sit down with Jen Shah and have some sort of reconciliatory or some type of conversation to reconcile wherever they are at the moment so that Lisa doesn't have to feel like she's in the middle. Meredith is completely not having it. This is the most passionate I think that we've ever seen Meredith. And I think that there's going to be more to come of that this season because she's incensed that Jen has been, as she says, terrorizing her family. Via the things that have been posted on social media. Also interesting in this conversation was this revelation from Meredith that Lisa has not wanted to see the messages that Jen has either been liking or tweeting or reposting or what have you on social media, which is further making Meredith upset in this moment. Any thoughts that you have about this situation?
I think that again, when I understand Lisa feels like there was some sort of character assassination on her, and I don't understand why you're friends with Heather and Whitney. So we're doing the same thing to each other. I kind of get that, but watching Meredith here, you can tell she's at her point. She just lost her father. You're not talking about her relationship. You're talking about her offspring, her kids, her children. It's totally different. And I think for a mom, it's definitely listen, you could talk to my mom about her relationship with her husband. She'll brush it off. You talk about me, my mom's probably she's going to drag you across she's going to give you a scene out of the Real Housewives of Potomac, right? So I think that in this scene, it was really important for Lisa Barlow to listen to Meredith and understand where she's coming from and why this is so important. And like you said, we saw a little bit more passion from Meredith. She was a little bit more stern. And you could even see like glimpses over at the kitchen island when they're all kind of huddled and they're all looking over like, oh, it's happening. They're filming. This is what happens. Chloe, I told you. It's I get like, Chloe, I told you. This is the kind of stuff that happens. You see it, And I feel like we're going to see a little bit more Chloe this this season. I think that she's going to take, her daughter's beautiful. I think she's going to take a page out of Lisa Rinna, Yolanda's book and try to push her out there a little bit more. I just have that feeling, but we'll see.
It wouldn't shock me. I am a huge Lisa Barlow fan. I'm always a fan of business women and women that are really about their business on these shows. But I have to say that, you know, her comparison of her issues with Heather and Whitney are not the same as Meredith's issues with Jen, because they involve a child. Right. Now, I get that Brooks commented on seeing, you know, Jen's kitty cat allegedly, but I also feel like what has been coming back to him is a harsher punishment than the crime that he committed. Right.
And we have to remember too, these women, even if it's your freshman season, you sign a contract, right? And you know, because they all came on trying to be little characters. Like we saw the Meredith kind of portraying the LVP. We saw, you know, like Jen Shah being like a little bit of like a Stassi Schroeder or a Lala Kent, or one of the more sort of out there, I'm going to flip a table kind of personalities. It was almost like they did their research before coming on the show, and they figured out who they wanted to be and how they wanted to look. I really feel like that. But in this episode, I don't know. I feel like Brooks did not sign up to be a part of the show. His mom did. And even though he might have had a few little snide comments and thought that they were cute, whatever, I think it's different. Like now there's going to be people who love him and they're going to support him. And Brooks, we love you. You're the best. And then there's going to be people over here who are calling him every name in the book and ripping him apart, being like, oh, you know that you're a part of that community. Why don't you just come out, do yourself a favor? You know what I mean? Like social media is harsh. So I feel like it's going, the ramifications that he's feeling from her liking those things allegedly or whatever would be a lot more harsh than Lisa Barlow being equated to knowing Heather in college or a good time girl. It's not the same.
I definitely agree with you on that. And I also, it's interesting that you say that they were playing character types, because I feel like the two of the people that I definitely feel like were not are Heather and Mary.
Yeah, Mary, that's different. She's like an anomaly.
There is nothing like a Mary to me. Again, I equate her to Kim Richards. You don't know what you're going to get anytime she's around, and it's just going to be off the rails, and I'm here for it. Sometimes she's going to make a whole lot of sense, and sometimes she's not. Heather, on the other hand, I just feel like is just an anomaly for reality TV in this day and age, because it just feels like she's just trying to find her way.
Which I appreciate that. It feels very authentic.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't necessarily love was watching her talk about her daughter going to college and being like, I want her to earn that good time girl title. And I want her to, I'm like, Heather.
Oh, and the I like criminals comment. I didn't. I was.
Yeah. That I like criminals comment, like, well, that somebody should have vetted her for a first time on live television. But it, like those little things, I'm like, but it just goes to show you, she really is, there's no guidelines or book for someone like Heather. Like you had a conversation with Karen Huger. She said in that conversation, I came on the show trying to portray myself as one way, but eventually, these weren't her words exactly, but eventually it got exhausting because I'm portraying a character, and it's a lot to keep up with. Heather Gay is not portraying a character. She's trying to figure out who she is, and we're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's different.
I enjoy watching that journey. Even if she sticks her foot in her mouth a couple of times, I would rather her do that and figure it out from there, because that's real. That's human nature. It's real. And I want to see more of that on these shows. We got a lot to look forward to this season, y'all, with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. That was the episode. It was an hour and 15 minutes long. I would love for, I don't know. I was about to say I would love for every episode to be an hour and 15 minutes long. I say that until I'm reviewing it and I'm making notes and I'm tired. But as long as they keep it juicy, I'm excited. Anything that you're looking forward to coming up that you feel like we need to be, or if anything that you know that we feel like we should be on the lookout for in the next couple of weeks?
No, as far as what I'm looking forward to, it would definitely be the rest of this Jen Shah drama unfolding, right? Just like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica Girardi has been carrying this season on her back with the LA Times article and the scandal. And unfortunately, people love scandal. So they're going to tune in for it. And that's why a lot of people are tuning in for this season. And not only that, that's why they opened up with what did you call it? A cold play?
The cold open.
Oh, cold open. That's why they opened up with the cold open like that, because they know this is what is going to carry this season. So I want to see, one, when she gets arrested and how that plays out. That whole episode is going to be interesting to me. And then after that, when she first faces the women after being arrested, the questions that they have and how she answers them. And then this BS, which I'm sorry, I just have to say this. Someone must have told them that you were here. They unsealed an indictment. They've been looking into you for a long time. Nobody had to tell them that you were in Salt Lake City for them to know you were in Salt Lake City. When they knocked on the door and they asked your husband, where are you? Had he have lied? He's not going to lie for you and be like, oh, well, I don't know where she's at. They're going to be like, great, come with us. You know what I mean? So I think it's absurd that we're trying to be like, Meredith Marks must have said something. Mary Cosby's jealous of her. She's probably said something. That makes no sense to me.
As if Meredith is on the line with the government.
Right. Like,
calling FBI. Can y'all come and get this girl for talking about my son?
Yeah.
Like, really?
And you can see Jen's reaction. And I think her reaction is a very sincere, like an honest reaction, because she's pointing in her face. She's screaming, if I found out you had anything to do with this. But I think this is just misplaced anger. Because right now her life is crumbling before her. She just went to court. Her attorney probably explained to her, these charges carry the weight of 50 years. You'll probably look at 7 to 10 if you're convicted. I think all of this is playing a role to where now, she's trying to figure out, where do I put this? Because she knows, don't take that back home to Coach Shah, because he has that divorce attorney on speed dial. Don't do that. You need him.
That part right there. Crystal Jewel, I want to thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I love y'all both. Your channels are amazing. Thank you so much, boo. Adam, before we go, is there anything that you have coming up that we should be on the lookout for? We always like to hype up whatever you're doing.
Yeah, no. So I just have, of course, I'm going to be doing Daily Hot Topics, and I have a few exciting interviews coming up. I don't normally like to say who they are, like I told you before, until I have them up, because I don't want to look like the guy who's like, guess who I'm talking to? And then everybody goes to my channel in 2 weeks and they're like, where the hell is that, liar? So I don't like to give the names, but I have a few exciting interviews coming up this month. We're rebranding, doing a few different things with the channel. It's exciting. We're growing. So we're trying to grow with it and change it, keep everything refreshed. You know how this works. It's a lot of work. So I'm trying to keep up. Like I told you today has been crazy. I'm losing my voice already, and I have a few more to do.
Can you tell them how many things you have on your plate today? I just want to.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, it's 10, 11 videos that we have going on today. It's a lot, but we're here for it. And it's going to be great.
All right. Thank you for that. And we have another super chat from Queen who says, they will not show up at your domain for just showing up sake. They track your cell phone locations and also voice conversations. Love you both. Thank you so much, Queen.
Thank you.
Thank you for that intel. Guys, we will be back next week, probably same bat time, same bat channel, 2 p.m. for the Housewives of Salt Lake City. And we'll just have to see how this whole situation plays out. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit different from how Erica Jane's situation is playing out, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We'll talk about that too. Any thoughts about that real quick before we go?
Oh my gosh, no. We have to leave that one alone because I've already been brought up in the court case. So I'm like, whoa.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Adam, stay safe out there.
Yeah, stay safe out here in these Palm Beach streets.
Stay safe out there. Y'all, listen, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. We appreciate you here, and we will catch you guys in the next video.